Doing the little Hershey Kisses in the bowl.
Hi there, I cannot hear you. So on the left side of where it says
Hello.
Hello.
there.
Director Jax, I didn't hear you. I think he was
Yeah.
talking.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he's having some audio difficulties, so I'm on the phone with him trying to correct those right.
Good morning, everybody.
Morning. How are you today?
Fantastic.
Good, beautiful day again.
Unfortunately, yes.
Yes, exactly. It's funny, normally we like these kinds of days.
Oh gosh. It's sad state of affairs, man, water wise.
I lived in Oklahoma a long time ago, and I think we had something like 300 sunny days a year.
Wow.
There were all kinds of other issues with the weather, mind you. Lots
Yeah.
of other issues with the weather. Tornadoes, ice storms, little things like that.
Oh. They sound so fun.
Oh, yeah.
Let's see. Director Bates is at work.
I'm here for right now. So
All right. Hey, don't yell.
Me too.
Hey, Steve.
Hey.
Okay, it looks like the gang is all here.
Is Mr. Holtzman joining us today?
No, sir. Marion Morley from Rennie Public Law Group is here. John was unavailable.
Okay.
Yeah, she is joining us. I was just on the phone with her. I believe she is. Yeah, she is now on the line.
Yep, I see it. Thank you. Marcia, have you started recording?
I think she's on the phone with Director Jex still.
Chief, just for clarification, we are good to go on this meeting, talking with council. Is that correct?
I defer I would wait till we get Director Jex on the line and defer to council to answer that question.
Gotcha. And secondarily, Chief, did you get my email I sent you?
At what time, sir?
I just got off the engine and it just sent it off maybe a couple minutes ago.
I've got it. Yes, sir.
I'm sorry, that broke. You did get it? Yes?
Yes, sir. I've got it.
Okay. If I have to cut out, will that suffice?
I can't vote for you, sir, but I could certainly relay your communications.
That's all I'm looking for. Thank you.
Thank you for waiting. Director Jex is going to call in. His iPad is not producing any audio for him, so he cannot hear and we cannot hear him.
Well, then we'll wait a minute and we'll wait for Director Jex.
Director Jex, I believe I see your phone number ending in 3200. Let's see if you're prompted to unmute yourself.
Looks like you got it done.
Yes, Director.
Okay.
Jex.
Sorry.
Well, welcome to the club. Welcome to the meeting.
Okay,
Well, good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the Moraga-Orinda Fire District Special Board Meeting, February 18th, 2022. This is an open session and we will begin shortly. I'd like to, Marcia, can you do, I'd like to call a special meeting to order. Marcia, can you do a roll call, please?
I need to start the recording. Hold for one moment.
Okay. I would like to call the special meeting to order. Marcia, can you do a roll call, please?
Director Bates,
Here.
Director Danziger,
Here.
Director Jex,
Here.
Director Jorgens,
Here.
President Donner.
Here. I'd like to start the meeting with the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of
the United States
of
United
America,
States of America,
and
to the republic
and to the
for which it
republic
stands,
for which it stands,
one nation under
under God,
under God,
indivisible, with liberty and
indivisible,
Peace,
with
justice for
liberty
all.
and justice for all.
Thank you. I'd like to open this up to public comment for items not on the agenda. Marcia, do we have any hands raised or received any correspondence?
We did receive one written public comment, which was forwarded to the directors from Charles Porges. And we do not have any hands raised.
Okay, thank you. I
Sir,
will.
if I may, sir, with regard to correspondence received, the correspondence received raised questions regarding the noticing of meetings under a section of the law that was cited that applies to state agencies, the appropriate, specifically Government Code 11125.4, which is specific to state agency meetings. MOFD meetings are held under Government Code Section 54956. And I defer to council with regard to whether or not this meeting is permissible and was appropriately noticed.
Thank you, Chief.
Hello, directors. Miriam Morley from Rennie Public Law Group. Yes, this meeting only required 24 hours notice. And it was appropriately noticed under the applicable law, the Brown Act.
Thank you. I think that addresses Mr. Porges' correspondence. I will close the public comment for items not on the agenda, and we will go to item 3.1, authorize emergency paid sick leave in accordance with SB 114.
Good evening, directors. In April 2020, the MOFD board approved a grant of additional sick leave of 144 hours to all employees to minimize the impact of the COVID-19 pandemic. As a government employer, MOFD was not eligible for federal reimbursement for the cost of this action under the Families First Coronavirus Response Act. In response to the ongoing COVID-19 pandemic, Governor Newsom signed SB 95 on March 19, 2021. The law required employers to provide an additional 80 hours of COVID-19 supplemental paid sick leave to full-time employees and a pro-rata amount of COVID-19 supplemental paid sick leave to part-time employees based on their work schedule and work history. For firefighters, the law specifically required employers to provide an additional 2 weeks of COVID-19 supplemental sick leave based on total hours scheduled in the 2 weeks preceding when the employee takes leaves. There was no reimbursement provided for SB 95 to employers. The board approved SB 95 sick leave in April 21. To ensure compliance with SB 95 mandates, a sick leave policy was implemented for all members. On February 9, 2022, Governor Newsom signed SB 114. The law reauthorizes COVID-19 supplemental paid sick leave effective February 19, 2022 through September 30, 2022. The law is retroactive to 1 January 2022. The law requires public and private employers that employ 26 or more workers to provide additional supplemental sick leave equivalent to the hours worked in the prior week to be used for one or more of the following reasons. There are 7 reasons associated with COVID-19 related things other than testing positive. And there is reason number 8, which is specific to the covered employee or a family member for whom the covered employee is providing care test positive for COVID-19. The law provides for up to 1 additional week of supplemental sick leave for absences due to reason number 8, testing positive for COVID-19. Suppression personnel work 56-hour weeks, meaning they're eligible for 56 hours of supplemental sick leave with up to an additional 56 hours for reason 8 absences. A covered employee is entitled to the additional 56 hours if the covered employee or a family member for whom the covered employee is providing care tests positive for COVID-19. The employer may require the employee to submit to a diagnostic test and provide documentation of the results. The employer shall make a test available at no cost to the employee. If the employee requests to use additional hours because a family member for whom they are providing care tests positive for COVID-19, the employer may require that the employee provide documentation of that family member's test results before paying the additional leave. Under SB 114, the compensation for supplemental sick leave for employees is determined by the employee's exemption status and their pay rate. For non-exempt employees, compensation is based on the employee's regular rate of pay or the employee's total wages less any overtime premium pay. For exempt employees, the law requires employers to calculate employee compensation for supplemental sick leave as they would for other forms of paid leave time. Employers are not required to pay employees more than $511 per day when using supplemental sick leave and not more than $5,110 in total. If an employee's regular compensation exceeds $511 per day, the employee may elect to supplement the supplemental sick leave maximum pay amount with other accrued paid leaves to make up the difference in pay. Staff recommends granting additional paid sick leave as follows. 1, determine an expiration date for SB 114 required for COVID-19 supplemental sick leave. Of note, there is no requirement to determine an expiration date, but if so, it cannot be prior to September 30th, 2022. Authorize all existing and new benefited 56-hour workweek employees to receive up to 120 hours of COVID-19 supplemental paid sick leave in the manner specified in SB 114. This leave can only be used for reasons consistent with COVID-19 related reasons listed or included in SB 114. Recommend the same for 40-hour work weeks and recommend the same for part-time employees based on the hours worked as identified in SB 114. And then upon request, authorize retroactive use of COVID-19 supplemental paid sick leave by employees during the period of January 1st, 2022 through February 18th, 2022, and a restoration of non-SB 114 COVID-19 supplemental sick leave to the employee's sick leave accrual bank. With that, I'd be happy to answer any questions from the public or from the board.
Marcia, do we have any hands raised or public comment regarding?
We do not have any hands raised and we have not received any written public comment.
Okay.
So I have a couple of kind of technical questions. So as much as we all intended to be able to discuss this today, when we go back and sort of formally look at what we sent out to the public in our effort to, of course, be transparent on all things about finance stuff to the public, the title specifically says that we want to have the authority to provide this benefit in accordance with SB 114. And then it goes on to explain in the staff recommendation that, you know, the maximum that requires is $511 a day and no more than $5,100 total. And that if the employee wants to get something more than that, then they get to take it. They have the right to take it out of their others pockets. Let's see, what is it? The employee may elect to supplement the SSPL maximum pay with paid leaves to make up for the difference in pay. So nowhere in here do we describe anything other than those numbers and the ability to do that. So we put the public on notice that we were going to do something that was required by law. And based on last night's discussion, I think there's an effort to try to do something that is more than required by law. And so I'm wondering if we really gave the appropriate notice to be able to do something other than what is written as we spoke. Today, doesn't mean we can't do something in the future, but today it isn't obvious to me we have the authority to do anything more than what's written in these documents.
I think that's a question for counselor or the fire chief.
I defer to council. If there's concern about the manner in which it was noticed, we can certainly close this meeting, republish the staff report with additions, and hold a special meeting tomorrow to meet the SB 114 timeline. There is a time available to do that.
Well, but I think that, I mean, the whole, we've had for years now, we've had lots of discussions about our public disclosure of our finances and making sure we were open and transparent with the public. And like I said, I don't think we can approve what's, today. Absolutely, we can approve the minimum, and we can go back later, at a regular board meeting if we want to, and adjust, and talk about if we want to pay something in addition to that. But at the moment, I wouldn't consider that having a special meeting to talk about extra compensation that is not required is meeting our internal guidelines, not an external guideline, our internal guidelines about transparency and openness with our community.
Can we hear from council on this?
Yes, yes. The law requires that you give notice, enough notice for the public to understand what action you're going to take. And I'd note that your agenda does say that you may authorize all existing and new benefited 56-hour work week employees to receive up to 112 hours of COVID-19 supplemental paid sick leave in the manner specified in SB 114. So that does give the public notice of how much sick leave you do intend to provide your firefighters. Their notice does not say that you are going to give only the minimums that what is required by SB 114. This is in accordance with SB 114, which certainly allows you to provide this much paid sick leave. And
so we would be well within our rights to talk about and discuss and come to a decision on the one of the points being the salary, minimum being $511. If we choose to go to something different, we are well within our rights to do that today. Is that correct?
Yes, you're well within your rights to take action as noted in your agenda to authorize up to 112 weeks. Yes.
Well, that's a different question.
Hold on, not the 112 hours. I understand that, but part of this was employees not required to pay more than $511 per day, but not to exceed $5,110 in a day. Are we allowed to? The minimum is, Director Jorgens, is this kind of where you're getting at the pay part of it?
Exactly.
If we go more than the 511, has that been properly noticed?
I think what Director Bates is asking is, we know that the maximum award per the state is 511. I think we would like to pay them at their position rate, captain, paramedic / engineer. Are we in our right to approve that at their current salary rates, which is going to be more than the 511 awarded by the state?
This is a sort of complicated statute, but my understanding of it, and Chief, you can chime in here if you like, is that it requires that you pay at their regular pay rate. That the cap that is there, the cap that you could impose, has to do with the daily rate not going over 511 or not going over 5,110. So I don't see it as a question of the pay rate as much as it's just a cap that you can place on of how much you are going to pay for that day, despite the fact that you're not paying them you're not really paying them at a different rate. It's just a cap.
But the line in our staff report, which is what goes to the public, says if an employee's regular compensation exceeds $511 per day, the employee, not the employer, may elect to supplement the PSL maximum pay amount with other accrued paid leaves to make up the difference in pay. It doesn't say we're going to do it. It says they can do it. So it specifically does it. It doesn't say we might. It says it tells them exactly prescriptively what they can do to make it up. And that's all we disclosed to the public. We didn't say, oh, by the way, we're going to pay them double this amount, which is roughly what it is. Specifically, let me
Yeah.
put it more specifically. If we believe that we have the right to do that, my impression would be we are specifically misleading the public by implying that we can't approve more than $511 a day in our disclosure.
And directors, if there's a concern about that specific language, I believe I have enough. I understand the concern that which can be addressed. If that's the case, I would recommend that we close this meeting and reconvene tomorrow, having made the adjustments and appropriately noticed the meeting.
Yeah, but I think that is contrary to what, I mean, that it's just so wrong relative to what we're supposed to be telling the public. Why do we have special meetings every time we have an MOU to do? Same point. We're adding extra compensation to something that's not required. So we specifically have a policy not to do that.
Yes, sir. We do have a legal requirement mandated by the state to have something in place by tomorrow. If it is the board's sense that that with the appropriate noticing and so forth, the board would consider additional compensation. From an administrative standpoint, I would not recommend putting that off. I understand the trade-off with public noticing, but because this is retroactive, there are actions we will be required to take immediately upon enactment. So if the board were to enact today or tomorrow for that matter, a lower rate with the intent of adjusting that in the future, we certainly could do that. We defer to the board's direction on these things. I do feel obligated to point out, though, that will create some administrative items that will need to be addressed internally, having to do with the retroactive application of the leave back to January 1st. But if the board's pleasure is to revisit this at the March meeting, today we are required to adopt something by tomorrow. If the board chooses to adopt something today and then would like to revisit this in March, we certainly defer to the board with regard to the scheduling of items of this nature.
I personally would not like to adopt it today if we're not going to have in the correct verbiage right now. If that means we got to do this again tomorrow, let's do it tomorrow and get it done before the 19th closing date.
Doesn't the part of the law that says that we're required to pay, we're not required to pay more than 511 when using SPS SL and not more than 5,110 in total? Doesn't that open that up to be able to give additional if that's what we decide?
Yes, sir. That's the language that establishes that SB 114, the 511 per day is a minimum, and is not explicit that you must, but certainly doesn't rule out that you can. I think to the point that was made previously is that if it is the board's pleasure to pay above that, it would have been beneficial in the interest of transparency for that to have been clearly articulated in the staff report, which I did not do. And I suggest as a correction to that, we can reconvene tomorrow with an appropriately worded staff report making that point. I think that is a separate issue from whether it is appropriate to hold a special meeting that envisions awarding sick leave allocations above the legal minimum in a special meeting notice versus a regular meeting where the packet goes out with additional time for public review. So it would be helpful from my perspective to receive board direction on both of those questions.
So Chief, I think the directors would like to, I can't speak for all the directors, but I think we would like to award them this at their salary rate. I think we need to give the public the correct notice. So I say that we end this meeting and reconvene tomorrow and go from there. Any directors have any other issues or questions about that?
I think that
Well,
would
I think
be,
the other option, I think the other option is we adopt what we're doing. If we choose to do that and to pay it over, do it at the March meeting.
I
rather
think
than a
we're
special meeting.
ready to award that. We would just like to get this done. Like the Chief said, administratively, it'd be more of a headache to wait on that end, if we are going to go with that.
Well, I think at a minimum, just for, again, for our transparency purposes, even if we approve it today or tomorrow, I would argue we should put it on a regularly scheduled agenda so that the public has a regular amount of time to read it and react to it. And even though it might already be a done deal, they should at least know what happened. Otherwise, it looks like we're trying to hide the ball, which we're not, but it looks that way.
So I would agree with Director Donner. I think we should close this meeting, reopen it tomorrow after it's been properly noticed that we want to give the employees their full salary instead of the 511.
Well, I think that could be one of the options. I think we could have.
One of the options. Okay, Hoda has one of the options.
I think it would just be an option listed. It would, give them the 511 or give them 511 plus whatever it is for a, 24-hour shift, different options.
And I think we need to quantify that if we're asking the board to make we asked yesterday roughly what that was and people guessed, but I think we should know at least roughly what that is. And I realize everybody makes a different amount of money, but we could at least say in general, it's going to be, roughly X amount. Because we're making a financial decision.
You're right, we are. We're also talking about our first responders that are responding to COVID patients in ambulances and hospitals. And
no, I'm saying we need to, President Donner, I'm not questioning whether.
No, I understand.
I'm only saying the public needs to know how big a financial decision we're making. If the guys made $10,000 a day, which they don't clearly, but if they did, it'd be a big number. And we need to tell the public that it's not such a big number and be able to try to quantify things for them.
Depending on the pay scale and the person, sir, it's between 40 and 50% of their normal pay. I'm sorry, between 511 is between 50 and 60% of the pay.
So we could just quantify that and put it on here so we have an idea how big a budget item we're dealing with. That's right. I would agree that we should do it again tomorrow. I think that'd be beneficial.
Can I just even if we do it tomorrow, I have one question, being a former HR person. And maybe I thought Christine, I think is on this call too. Is the leave that we gave prior, as well as if we decided to give this leave, does it have a different sick leave code? Is it sick leave COVID or something, or is it just added to sick leave?
No, sir, these are all, the law requires these be accounted for in separate banks.
Separate, okay. Okay.
So I say that I would be in favor of reconvening, putting the public notice out today and reconvening and getting this closed up tomorrow.
While we're here, should we figure out a time since we're all on the phone?
So directors, before we figure time, we require 24 hours notice, and then we do require time today to make the adjustment of the staff report. So I would suggest it not be any time prior to 5 o'clock tomorrow.
Okay.
Sounds good.
How about 5 o'clock tomorrow then?
That works
Okay
for
with me.
That's fine with me.
Yeah, yes, I can do it. I just have to move. I'll take care of it. Yeah, I can do it.
Okay.
So in that, if we do this tomorrow, I think we'll have a staff report and there'll be different options listed.
And at least roughly quantify. Yep, that's great.
Director Danziger, is a later time better for you than 5 o'clock?
No, late is worse.
Yeah, me too.
No, I 5 I can do if we have to do 5. Yeah.
Chief, this is Director Donner. Just in regards to, your staff and what you need to do, would it be easier for you or more realistic if we were just to pass this now and do this at the March meeting? Or would you rather get this done tomorrow?
I would much rather get this done in the appropriate manner, sir. We'll make the time work. I think it's important that something, particularly that where we are balancing a legal mandate with the judicious use of public funds and transparency, that we get that right.
Okay. So does tomorrow 5 o'clock meeting work for you and staff? Is that enough time?
Yes, sir. I'll be there.
All right.
I move we adjourn the meeting then, given all that.
Second that.
Or delay it till tomorrow, whatever you want to, whatever the right answer is. Yeah.
Adjourn.
Okay, then I will adjourn the special meeting and we will reconvene tomorrow at 5 p.m.
Director Bates,
Aye.
Director Danziger,
Aye.
Director Jex,
Aye.
Director Jorgens,
Aye.
President Donner.
Aye. Thank you, everybody. We'll see you tomorrow.
Okay.